Well, hi, everyone. Welcome to a kind of somber, sad episode of Double D-Fense. As you know, we are an all-female with a special guest today, New York Rangers podcast covering the New York Rangers, the PWHL, the NHL, and a lot more. Thank you for listening. We're still kind of processing what transpired between the Rangers and the Hurricanes on Monday. And we are recording this on Tuesday. We've had a chance to kind of digest a little bit. But I don't know, not feeling so great. Not feeling so great.
I've been, we've had a lot of feedback coming back and forth, and a lot of people, most of the time, like you just seeing like it's over. People are just done. Yeah. And every once in a while, there's a little positive kind of note. I think the way I see it, in discussing it with a couple people last night and today, and in our discussion yesterday. Look, I think we always come across cool, calm, and collected. And in a way, Matthew and I were talking, and Matthew kind of had a point. He's like, he viewed the Rangers this year comparable to the 2012 Kings. And with the only difference is that the Rangers ended up at the top, and the Kings barely squeaked in to the playoffs. But I think the temperament is the same. I mean, they're just like, they kind of seem kind of chill vibe. And as I was talking to someone today, I'm like, all that is over. I don't think we're going to come out seeing the same team. And
we can't afford to come out seeing the same team.
Well, look, I mean, they can win playing the way they're playing, but how are they going to handle the Panthers? And then the next, manifesting that whole trip all the way through the end. So the changes, the changes need to become. There was a clip, I don't know if you saw it, with PK Subban talking today, and I mean, look, what he says is right. It's not surprising, but it's like you have to come out, and I think Mark Messier was talking about it yesterday too. You have to come out with some urgency to kind of finish this off, and get that sense of it. And so we have to be able to see it, and we haven't seen it. So
this episode is really somber.
But I know, I think we're going to come out. I think we're going to come out seeing fun. It'll be a good game on Thursday. It's messing up our whole schedule.
Yeah, the good news about these past couple games is that it's a wake-up call, right? We've been seeing these problems throughout the Rangers as a team, even in these first few wins.
Yeah.
So if these two losses can help rectify those problems,
exactly,
and they come out, win one of these last two games, you should be able to come out and at least be competitive against Florida.
Yeah, I agree. I agree. I think they're all in detention, thinking about things over the next 2 days.
About what they've done and what they haven't done.
And the punishment is for us, because this is a long 3 days. I'm like, this sucks.
Okay, here's my biggest beef. This is where I really struggle with this team. To me, how they played on Monday, and I think we had a lot of comments on our Instagram post with us just like burying our head in our hands. This did not seem like the same team. It seems like there were conscious choices made, whether it was coaching or the players were making the choice on the fly to not play an aggressive style of game, which has gotten them to where they are. And I don't know why that is. To me, that's either a bizarre coaching choice that I don't feel like Laviolette would have made, or the players are pissed off, or there's something else that is like going on behind the scenes. And if you've been following this podcast at all, I love a good New York Rangers conspiracy theory, but that was not the same team that showed up. It's almost like they wanted to lose. Like they tried really hard to lose.
Drive us crazy and have a game 7 when I can't watch it because I have other things to do.
And then the confusing thing is then the one goal that they score is Trouba while they're short-handed. Like, how does that even make sense?
I know. And you didn't hear like all Liz complaining about Trouba after he dumped the player and then scored. And I was like, oh, I think that's the key, Liz. I think you just need to complain more. It works when you bitch about Keandre.
It really sucks when I think the way that New York has won these past or the first 3 games of the series is with the man advantage, right? Even in the series right now, Carolina has a negative power play.
Still, I know we were talking about it.
I don't think that has ever happened,
No.
at least this deep into a series. So how much has the 5v5 faltered because of that? Because they've still been great on the power, they've still been great on the kill.
Yeah.
So how much?
And honestly, if you watch the game, Carolina didn't play all that well either.
No, both teams. Did they all eat from the same restaurant the night before? Did they all have food poisoning? I think at one point, Christine and I turned to each other and we're like, is this game in slow motion? Like, what is happening? Was the ice terrible? Like, I would like to hear from anybody who was there. What, like,
was it warm inside?
Yeah, was something happening? Did everybody like breathe in mold? Did they all go out last night? Like, what was going on? Carolina too. I totally agree. Carolina did not play a great game. They just somehow, they held it together slightly better than the Rangers, and the only reason that they won.
If Jacob Trouba scores a shorthanded goal, you should win that game.
Yes.
Just realistically.
I'll send a memo. I'll let him know.
Hey, New York Rangers, you should win that game.
Excuse me.
Thank you.
Just so you know.
Well, I mean, as Christine said, this really does mess with our schedules because I had figured we would have definitely had it wrapped up by today. I literally canceled a business.
I know, like that literally halfway through the game, Liz was like, okay, if I move this, I could do this. And if I move this, I could do this. And so
Mom was planning a Florida trip. You don't do that.
Yeah, we still are. She's coming with me.
No,
What's
stop
happening?
it. Stop it. Stop where everything is right now.
No jinxing stuff. Look,
on behalf of for those of you who don't know who I am, I'm a Kings fan. Even though I'm not a Rangers fan, I am rooting for Jonathan Quick. Even though he's not playing at all, it's just Shesty's playing too well.
Yeah, look, all those years where I over decorated over the Kings decorations that Matt had when he was little. He's secretly a Rangers fan.
No.
Well, or again,
that's my excuse.
Well, so there's always been a Ranger connection too, and I told the story before, but it is a cute story. Matt's favorite player when he was younger was Frolov, and number 24. And just as I cried when Henrik was traded on that one doomed Friday, which I'll never forget.
When Jonathan Quick got traded.
Well, you and like everybody else, but when Frolov, Matt was really young. I remember wherever you were, I think you were with Dad, and I called and I told you, and he just went into tears over the phone. He was like 11 or something.
I remember where I was too. Our home city had community fields. I think I was at my brother's soccer game. I think that's where it was.
Oh yeah, something like that. And I was home and I called to tell him, and he was very upset because he was traded to the Rangers. So anyway, yeah. So what do we think is going to happen? They're playing in Carolina. Look, Carolina's now very cocky, and that sometimes is a downfall because you make mistakes when you get to be a little too cocky. And you saw D'Angelo trying to rile up Rempe, who did not falter to that. And so what do you think we're going to see on Thursday?
The Rangers better win. They better. They will not. They will not win Game 7. But with the way that the momentum of this series is swinging, they will not win Game 7. They have to win Game 6.
Yeah, I mean, I don't disagree. I think at the very least, they have to show up. I would not have been upset. I would not feel the way I felt if that team showed up yesterday and played the same way that they have been playing and lost. That would have been a different story. And I realize the games have been close. They haven't been perfect, but games 1, 2, and 3, especially 1 and 2, looked very different than the way 4 and 5 had. And I think they played better in 4 than they did in 5.
We said this last year too. Just it's a very it's very reflective of last year.
Yeah. This is, but last year did not end well. So I feel like I feel like they need that urgency back. They need that aggressive forecheck back. That just was not happening. And I'm telling you, it felt like there was a major choice made in coaching, in just style of play that is not going to work when Carolina starts firing on all cylinders. And all of a sudden they have, like, they've gotten the upper hand.
Because of our defense sleeping.
Yeah. Our defense has been sleeping. But
can't
also,
rely.
But don't forget, like, best defense is a good offense. So if we could score a couple of goals, then maybe our defense can relax then. But even still, like, this is just, they have to come out aggressive, stay tight, not let the pressure of this get to them.
You can't rely on your penalty kill to score goals.
I know. Well, you also have to shoot. We also have a low amount of shots. I didn't get a chance to look at block shots to see, like, really truly how many we were taking. But, not to mention our team, but I've been noticing this year, comparative to other years, it's been insane the amount of low shots per game, especially like the Avalanche, where, when they won, McKinnon, like, he was shooting like himself like 40 shots a game, like, and they were coming out late. And now, we're seeing a lot of these teams, including the Rangers, like hitting low 20s in a game. And so
I'm also worried for this. Like, overall, I think they have to realize they're playing for more than just this round. They're playing for the dignity of this franchise. And I don't want to I don't want to get dramatic, but I'm going to for a second, because there's a lot of people, like, the wind will be out of the sails if the Rangers.
Oh, I like that every year, though.
They win the President's Trophy, they sweep the Capitals, and then they lose 4 games in a row to the Hurricanes. People's minds will explode.
They already are. Just to stay off.
Yeah, I know. But they have the chance right now.
I've done way too many rolling eye emojis, responses to people. It's crazy.
Yesterday, block shots 24 for the Rangers, 19 for the Canes.
Block shots.
Yep.
Yeah. So
they were playing very defensively.
Yeah,
and that's
I agree with that.
Style. Yeah.
Yeah, I agree with that. So I think that's my take, is that they have to come out fast. They have to win faceoffs. They got Trocheck for that. It's good. They need to remain calm in a way, because I think that arrogance is going to come out from the Canes, and they just need to get down in there and take shots. I don't think they're doing that.
Did they hit anyone? Were there any hits in that game yesterday, like on both sides? I feel like
Truman dumped it. He dumped somebody in front of the net, which was fun to watch.
A little bit.
Yeah.
Even Panarin banging people around, like, that worked, because that messed with the Hurricanes.
I got the stats page pulled up. 32 hits for the Rangers, 23 for the Canes. Very, very.
Yeah, well, it didn't feel like it. So, so the hits are hits. It's not going to tell you how hard it was or how dramatic it was or what, how we saw it. So, yeah, I almost want to say double up what you saw last game and double up those stats, and it'll be fine. So
and for those of you conspiracy theorists, the Knicks started losing. The Knicks started losing the same time as the Rangers.
I know. So the other thing too, the other thing too, which really has been something I'm watching on all the games, are the refs. So the refs missed some big calls yesterday that were, when you have the announcers, like, there's too many men on the ice, and enough for them to have a conversation about it, and it's not caught by 3 professionals on the ice is crazy. And unfortunately, some of these things have led. I think I don't know what I missed, but I think at one point we had a power play, and that's when they had the too many men on the ice. So we should have had a 5-on-3, and instead they were playing 5-on-5 instead of even giving us an advantage. So some huge missed calls. We tend to get, and I've been seeing the difference in the refs too, at least on the east side. I've seen, the refs for the Panthers and the Bruins kind of miss some blatant calls. And we tend to, aside from yesterday, we've had these refs that are calling every single thing, or you can't even get that momentum up. which again, I think probably favored us in a way. So, so I almost feel like they're more the ones to watch than anything to kind of see, how this game is, and the series is going. There was a stat early on, I think from last round where we were talking about this, where a lot of these games, the ref calls are fairly even. And if you're really just calling for things, it shouldn't necessarily be even from one team to another. It should be what the calls are. So when you have even calls from the refs, it's kind of looking like they're trying to even things out, which means they're favoring, one team over another during the game. So, and that's not the way it should be. So it'll be worse with the Panthers game. Like when you meld these two ref groups together, I'm like, oh no. Because watching the Bruins Panthers game is crazy.
Nope.
I'm watching things like a lot of Bruins play so close to the net. I don't know how they're not, or goalie interference like every 5 seconds. And I've actually seen them do a play where they score a goal, and then we did that same play, and we get a penalty. So I mean the exact same play. So, and watching how they play, and Panthers are like the same thing. They're going to crowd that net and get in there and go for those. And the Canes were kind of playing that way and having success in scoring that way too. It's just to get in there close up, and they're waiting for that rebound or that weird deflection to get in and score the goal.
And I felt like the Rangers never did that in this last game. There were always shots from afar, or they were trying to pass cross ice or trying to time out some. They had some success. I think this got them. They had a lot of success with the Capitals in these weird drop passes and pass across and perfectly timed, but that's really hard to do when you're playing against a team like the Hurricanes, and it was not working for them. So they have to figure out how to get a dirty goal or two, and they really did not. They did not have that going yesterday.
Yeah, I agree. Yeah, I mean, but also in listening to some of our friends talk and everything. Look, I'm not going to bag on the Rangers. When I'm watching, Carolina play good defense. So we're always going to look bad when someone's playing better, but that's the eyes that we're looking through. So you got to give them credit. Although, again, I don't think Canes played exceptionally well yesterday, which makes it a little harder for us to accept that loss.
Yeah. What happens when the Canes start playing well? Because I that is what we are all feeling. That is something is going to click in them, and it'll be too late for.
I know you giving them chances. All right, yeah, that's why I'm like, I'm glad we didn't get as many penalties, and I think that's what the Rangers are doing. I think they were just really cautious because they know
as many penalties as you want. You play better down.
Yeah. I know.
Yeah,
and you don't want to risk that because they're going to change and start scoring.
Yeah, but if it's the difference between getting out there and being aggressive against a team that they need to be aggressive to win, then maybe it's worth a penalty or two, especially because the Rangers PK and obviously even scoring shorthanded has been so good. The Rangers have rolled out the red carpet for the Hurricanes. They've welcomed them. They've said, "Come on in, hang out at Madison Square Garden. It'll be a great time." They need to remember who they are.
I also feel like, how we've had those wonderful hockey commercials. The hockey commercial where there's the couple, the Avalanche couple, and
I love that commercial.
We've been here for 10 years, and then the one time that we win is when we're not apart. I noticed that the two losses when we were hanging out together. So like on Thursday, we're going to be separate. we gotta amp up that juju.
Oh no! What if that is what it is? This does not bode well.
I guess I have to be like jumping around my apartment like a crazy fool, like I do all the other games to make it happen. And we're going back to texting. We're going to obviously be testing that theory on Thursday. So we'll see. So yeah.
We should calculate. We're probably like 500 in-person Rangers games.
Yeah,
I think we're maybe slightly.
Oh, I think we're good. The in-person ones, including at Madison Square Garden.
Including those. I mean, we've been to a number now. So I think in person we're good. So that just means somebody needs to sponsor us.
We didn't utilize it. And usually when we're at Liz's watching, when she goes to get food or something, that's when we score. So
when I go to the bathroom.
We didn't utilize
just get season tickets. Just get season tickets. Live in LA and have Ranger season tickets.
Yay!
It's so hard.
Well, well, at least we have each other, and at least we have a fabulous fan base to commiserate with.
Oh, a lot of people chimed in on our misery. So, including a couple of other people who, were in favor of the other team winning. I think we made a couple people happy to show our emotions.
Yeah.
So you're welcome, but no. So that we still have faith. I still believe. I think I've found a good drink pairing for tomorrow. Not tomorrow, but Thursday's game. I might change. I might have to have a couple of them. This is forever. Maybe I'll do one for tomorrow.
I think we need a contingency drink pairing if they lose.
Stop saying that.
It's going to be 7. It's going to be 7 shots of straight vodka. And I just want to say, if anybody is joining us for the first time, welcome. We provide drink pairings for every single Rangers game. So
feel free to drink up, get drunk, and you won't care.
Out here in Vegas, there's alcoholic ice cream that they mix into like a McFlurry type concoction, and they call it a hurricane. So you guys can probably do that.
Oh, I'm not
throw that up. So, I'm like, that sounds. Just chug it, then you barf it.
At the minor league Vegas baseball game, there's they sell maple bacon whiskey ice cream, and it is fantastic. It's
if I do need to eat my feelings later, that sounds delicious.
And we'll definitely talk about that. But Matt, maybe we'll have an agenda because the NHL draft will be there was it the end of July or June?
End of June.
End of June. So and a note on that. So start looking for award announcements to be coming out.
Mm-hmm.
They're going to start coming out today. I think they have it timed where each day they're going to start announcing some of the winners of some of these general awards. There's about 15, 20 of them. And so they're going to start announcing the names of the awards. And how many of them is McDavid going to win?
Probably all of them.
Probably all of them.
Yeah.
So there are other games. I know we've been watching all the games. I know, Matt, and we're going to talk about the PWHL in a second, which you've been able to kind of keep up with. So we've got Boston and Panthers. So my question is, how many low hit dirty fights do you think are going to happen tonight? I say 5. So.
As many goals as the Panthers are going to score, I think.
Yeah. Marchand's out. So one of their dirty players is out. And I think Boston's going to win tonight. I mean,
that kind of sucks for Boston from their perspective. Just because Marchand is one of their key players. I don't think they have any chance of winning. But honestly, I hope I'm wrong because I want this series to go as deep as possible.
I know. I wanted them to really kind of level each other out, play 7 games, and then have us sit back, relax, and that didn't work. So,
I mean, if you're a Rangers fan, you kind of want the Panthers to win tonight, right? Because you want them to cool off, right?
Okay, that's right. A good way to look at it.
I think you want it to go I think you want everybody to play as much hockey as possible, to exhaust them as much as possible. I mean, I don't wish injury on people except for whoever the Rangers would be playing next. Then I do.
I have been known to think that, and I'm okay with that. So, but I'm not the one doing it. So, it is what it is. So, all right. So we have that game. That game's on in just a bit. So that'll be exciting to watch. And it's not our team. And they will be in Florida, right? So I think that game, that's a done deal. That should end tonight. It'd be surprising. Honestly, if Boston wins, it's only going to be because the refs are going to make terrible calls, which they did on game 1. So that's what I'm going to be kind of watching for. The other game, right? Canucks are playing tonight too. Oilers.
Yeah, Canucks at Oilers. Game 4.
Yeah. So we were talking about that too. Matthew's texting me the Loiler, LOLers, and so, and we were discussing that because, an interesting thing is, all right, they've got Knobloch, which we love, but, but what's the deal? They're really kind of talking about, look, they're saying really they're not able to score unless you have the pair, of McDavid and Draisaitl on the ice. And looking at their stats, they play 30 minutes a game. That's half the game. I mean, when you have your two players on the ice for half the game, and you're saying the rest of the team can't perform or produce unless they're on the ice, how are they even in the playoffs?
Because those players play really good.
Because the Kings are garbage, frankly.
Everybody else is terrible.
Yeah. So like that's crazy, and kind of goes to my theory, which I'm always discussing and worth talking about over the summer too. Is like, is McDavid good because he's good, or is he good because he's given all this time and they're passing him the puck and he's getting all the opportunities to elevate his numbers? And look, when you're on the ice,
both things can be true.
They can be, but I don't like it, because that's where they give all the stats. And that's why arguing with people over these playoffs about who's the underdog, has come up. So
McDavid has dragged this stupid Oilers team kicking and screaming throughout his entire career so far. And even though I do think that if you shut down McDavid, you can shut down the entire team. Whenever you try to put that into practice, the Oilers, even though I think the rest of the team isn't that good, it's still good enough that if you focus your entire energy on McDavid, you will still lose. Because they're just going to skate right around you. That's what happened to the Kings this year. That's what happened to the Kings.
Well, right now the Canucks have been holding him. They've been holding him down, and they're winning. So that series is 2-1 right now. So what do you think? What do you think? You're going to see you can see that extend out 6-7 games?
Six. Canucks win in 6. I think that's what.
By the way, let me digress a second too. So for a lot of people complaining, and Liz, I don't know if you've seen this, for everybody bitching and moaning, complaining about the Rangers, I'm seeing a lot of people saying that they put bets down that the Rangers are winning 6. So which would be on Thursday.
That's actually true. When they did like the expert, I think The Athletic had like all of like the experts, and it had like 20 people. And I think everybody said Rangers in 6 or 7. I don't think anybody had Rangers in 4 or 5. And only like one person said Hurricanes. It was actually like a very small Hurricane list. Wow. So I agree. And I think Chris Kreider said something in the interview like, hey, if you had asked us at the beginning of the season that you'd be in the second round of the playoffs against the Hurricanes up 3-2, it's a good place to be. And most people would have taken that and said, absolutely. But, can't rest on that laurel. But I do think that in the grand scheme of things, I don't think it's entirely unexpected.
Mm-hmm. I just thought it was funny. All right, back to the game too. And then also Canucks have a suspended player. So, along with, and as we go into the last game, which was Dallas and Avalanche, where, now this news coming out that like an hour before the game, is it Nick Shuskin? Yeah, so he entered into the player assistance program, level 3. I didn't have a chance to look up exactly what level 3 is.
I didn't even know there were separate levels.
Yeah,
like
level 3 means that you've abused the system twice.
So it's a forced entry into the assistance program, not voluntary. And a 6-month suspension.
I feel a little bad for Avs fans because their team is currently collapsing, but it's not really the team's fault.
The news came out an hour before the game, is what I was reading, and so they had to go out there and play a game, knowing that like this, he was playing up until then and doing well and contributing, and then they've not only lost him for this the game, but the series, the year, and in halfway into the next season. Yeah. So that's a huge loss. And then, and how do you think that affects, the plays and everything? So,
this is detrimental.
Yeah.
I don't think Colorado's winning another game.
Yeah. So that's an interesting kind of development too. The other thing, and I don't know, Matt, you might have paid a little bit more attention to it. Like I don't recall seeing suspensions like either one of these, of course. Take out Nichushkin for a second. That's that's a unique situation. But have we how often are you seeing player suspensions in playoff series for one game or so? I mean, especially as brutal as they get, I'm kind of surprised.
I mean, I think we see it all the time. I think we see at least 3 or 4 suspensions per first round, right? So overall throughout a year, we see about 6, right?
Well, not during regular season. I'm just talking playoffs.
Yeah,
right?
About 6 a playoff, I think.
Really? What has I don't know who else was suspended. Was I not paying attention to things? Was anybody else suspended a game? And
Susie got suspended.
Yeah, so that's this one. That's the first I've heard. So
I remember last year. I remember last year somebody got suspended. Hold on.
Well, okay, so
the NHL has a list of suspensions.
Yeah. So anyway, that's a curious thing on a playoff level, especially because just a week before playoffs, we were getting ejected left and right, playing out the game and doing that. But and it was such at a lower cost than this. And some of these fights are brutal, and so
all right. So I think we mostly see fines because there's currently only 1 suspension in the playoffs this year, but there are 5 fines.
Oh, interesting.
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah. Who are those on?
Evander Kane, not surprising. Kevin Shattenkirk, somewhat surprising. I don't know how surprising that is to Rangers fans. Jordan McCarron on Nashville, and Zadorov.
Oh, okay.
Zadorov was actually fined for the first cross-check on Susie's suspension, if you remember how that play worked.
Yeah, okay.
But yeah, I'm not sure if I think I agree with Susie's suspension in a competent league, and logically I do, but it really feels like there's a wheel of fortune of suspensions in the NHL all the time. So
yeah, there's no
consistency.
None. Yeah, it's like the goalie interference call.
Mm-hmm.
And kicking motion.
Let's open Pandora's box here.
We'll do a separate podcast about that.
So, do you think that one cross check where that we had should have been a penalty, should have been goalie interference?
The Florida one?
Was it the Florida one? Which one was it? It was.
Yeah, that was the Florida player. I can't remember who it was who cross-checked.
Oh yeah, it was Boston because I was texting. Yeah, it wasn't us. It wasn't us. Yeah, you're right. It was Boston.
I think it should have absolutely been a goalie interference. It was not. They reviewed it. It was called not a goalie interference call.
So, whenever a play like that happens, the NHL always sends out something to a journalist, and what that journalist received was essentially just saying that goal would have scored anyway. So the goalie interference had no effect on the play. I do not agree with that whatsoever. He probably
and that's not what they determined at the time of the call either.
But he absolutely has a chance.
I did see that.
Oh my goodness.
That happened to us though. That happened to us in the beginning of the season when Jack Hughes, he shot the puck and then interference occurred and they called it a good goal because the shot, the timing of it allowed for it would have occurred or it happened before. They start doing this timing thing, but they can't assess that in a matter of 30 seconds.
No, and what calculation?
That's an excuse afterward. That's crazy.
Math. What formula did they use to determine whether or not that goal would have scored? Is it angles? Is it puck momentum? And why are they so secretive about it?
I think they just saw a guy with a puck at an empty net. And oh wow, that would have gone in. Oh yeah, but
yeah, that's not the first time.
Probably exactly how the conversation.
Oh yeah, but can I have some of your Timmies? Which also, if our listeners remember the play, right? The puck squirts out after a rebound. The reason why he shoves the player into the goalie is because the puck is near his feet, which allows him to get the puck in the first place. So even though he probably still scores there anyway, he probably doesn't dig the puck out in time from his feet if he doesn't shove it into the goaltender. So I feel like the NHL's statement to this journalist is null and void to any logical any logical person. I don't know.
It did drum up more conversation. I saw today too on kind of what we were talking, Matt, about in the beginning of the season, where like the European leagues have instituted a rule where the refs come out and discuss what they've done, in that league. And so that's now kind of driving up conversation too. It's like, should the refs come out and talk to the media and explain things? And of course, everyone's like, yes, yeah, we want to know. So
they have to do it right, because I think a lot of people are saying press conferences. I think those are ineffective because they're just going to go, oh, that was a good call. I don't know what you guys are talking about. That was a good call. What I've seen done, and what I think I want done is I'm going to use one more soccer example because I tend to do that a lot. There's in the Premier League on Monday or Tuesday afternoon, they have a 30-minute segment on a soccer show where the head of refs and the head journalist of the refs always come out and explain what happened and why they thought it was reasonable or not. And I want something similar like that. If there's a 30-minute segment on Monday afternoons on NHL Network explaining why certain calls went one way or the other and the analysis behind them, I think would also be very beneficial for the ref game. Just seeing how the thought process of refs go. I think would drum up not only a lot of publicity for how refs operate, but also maybe get the youngins who can't make it as hockey players into the reffing game.
That would be very interesting. And I think if the refs had a chance to sort of explain the thought process, it might quiet a lot of people on Twitter.
Well, absolutely. I still
not at first, right? Because if there's a bad call,
it's gonna take a while.
Because if this is a weekly show, if this theoretically is a weekly show, and a bad call happens, on that Wednesday or Thursday, you're gonna have 5 days. You're gonna have 5 days to complain about all you want on Twitter.
What and going in lines of those calls, what I have seen an increase in are the dual call, of the appropriate penalty and the embellishment penalty. So I've seen at least 3 of those. So
I don't agree with 90% of them.
That it logically doesn't make any sense whatsoever. So if I'm getting tripped up and I decide to fly because I tripped, why am I penalized for that? It's still a trip. It doesn't matter if I fall or I fall with flair, right? It's still a penalty. So why am I getting penalized for being dramatic about it? So
no,
ridiculous.
That would be penalized nonstop.
No, I think
I cried now.
No, there's definitely a line. There's definitely a line to embellishment calls. Like, obviously, if you are tripped, you should get the trip. But if you then launch yourself into the corner trying to get that trip called, you should also still get the embellishment. The issue is, at least to me, that line is lowered so much that the common diehard hockey fan can't tell the difference.
Yeah, it's ridiculous, and it's obviously made, for those calls that aren't penalties and doing that, and we haven't really seen any unique soul embellishment calls, and that's where this rule's not really going all that well for them. So we'll have to see. I want that press conference. So let's go over to the PWHL now. You've been watching. We've got, playoffs have begun as well. You're watching it. You're wearing your Minnesota jersey. And there are 4 teams out of the 6 that are playing. And the way that it has worked was the top place team was able to choose their opponent for the first round, which is fantastic. And the other 2 teams that did not make it, which is New York and
Ottawa.
And so for them, the minute that they were out of the contention for playoffs, they accumulate points. I think ultimately New York earned a first place spot to pick, in their draft coming up, and then it'll go just naturally according down the line for that. So how are those things? One of the games, Matt was texting me, and he's like, it was the Boston game, and and they're playing the same time Rangers are playing, and he's like, this game is very comparable. I think it was the same score. It was like they were getting penalties and fights. So tell me,
wait, what game was that? Hold on, I have
think it was
notes.
like game. I think it was game 2. Did it go in overtime? Like it was one of the.
It might have been.
It was like game 1 or 2. I think it was the double overtime. I think it was last Tuesday.
Oh no, that was just overtime. Oh yeah. Yeah, so
but you guys at PWJ had a triple overtime. So yeah, so tell us what's been happening there. Give us a rundown of the PWJ right now. Where we're at.
So to kind of where we are, how we got here. New York, who's the worst team in the league, they got out fairly early, about 4 or 5 games left in the season. They just couldn't win games. They couldn't be competitive. They fired their coach.
Well, they moved him to a different position. So Draper's been now moved, and they've brought somebody else in for that.
Which sucks because he did a good job. But when you have 5 coaches who did a better job than you, that's
they're women. Just kidding. I'm just kidding.
No,
he's good. I like Draper. No, it's okay. It's the first right. Like someone's got to, look, I think you and I were talking about, there's only 16, so it makes losing that much more amplified for things. So it is what it is.
And then that's amplified because as the season came to a head, with 1 game to go for everybody, the last 2 spots were still up for grabs with the last 3 teams, even with the last game to go.
Yeah. And as a reminder, wins are 3 points. So it's a huge difference when you do have, a little win streak.
The 3 teams fighting for the playoff spot was Ottawa, Minnesota, and Montreal. Or not Montreal, Ottawa, Minnesota, and Boston. Boston had won 4 or 5 games leading into the playoffs, which they clawed into a playoff spot. Minnesota lost their last 5 games, which which put them even in the spot, and Ottawa lost their last 2 or 3 games, and after these last games, what ended up happening was Boston gets the 3rd spot, Minnesota gets the 4th spot, and because Minnesota's cold, because they've lost their last 6 games, Toronto chooses Minnesota, and that's how we got Minnesota and Toronto, and then Boston and Montreal. Minnesota and Toronto, that storyline has been shutouts for everybody. Shutouts.
All first, by the way. So that's what you see. If you're following any of their social media, everything is still a first. This is a first round of playoffs, first shutouts, first overtime. It's been exciting. Yeah.
Toronto, I wouldn't say Toronto has dominated.
Well, how many games are they in now? What's the series at now?
They just played game 3 yesterday.
Okay.
So Toronto goes and blows out Minnesota 4-0, and then they go and beat Minnesota 2-0 after game 2, taking a 2-0 series lead and possibly sweeping the series because this is a best of 5, not best of 7.
Oh, okay.
But what ended up happening was Minnesota then scores 2 on Toronto at home to bring back the series to 2-1. And that was huge for them because of these 2 shutouts. Minnesota could not buy a goal.
Yeah.
It felt like Minnesota was snake bitten, even though
kind of like the Avalanche.
Right.
Yeah. They went a whole game without even getting a score or anything. Yeah.
Even though in game 2 they were somewhat competitive, they just couldn't score.
Mm-hmm.
Game 4 for that game is Wednesday. Wednesday at 5:00 PST, 8:00 EDT. That should.
So they're either tied up or it'll be over. Those are those pivotal games. So with the best 3 or 5. So that's exciting. And then tonight's Boston.
This series has been excellent. 3 games worth of time in two games. This has been bonkers.
And what's that series at right now?
Boston is leading Montreal 2-0 in the series, but these games have been so close that it could be Montreal. Montreal could be sweeping.
It's anybody's game. Yeah, I know what that feels like.
on Montreal's side, their storyline has been, why are they not playing their last lines? Even this game has gone to 3 OT. If you look at the ice times of their last defensive lines and offensive lines, they're all at sub 15 minutes.
Yeah. Well,
the reason why Montreal's been so good throughout the season is because of their depth, and they're just not utilizing it enough to win. And on Boston's side, the only reason why they're winning is because of Miss Erin Frankel. Erin Frankel is the best goalie on earth right now. She is insane.
Kind of like an Igor, huh?
No, she's better than Igor. Igor can. I don't think Igor. In the playoffs, I don't think Igor can steal games. Sorry. Igor can't steal games in the regular season. He can't do that in the playoffs. Erin Frankel is a burglar.
That's funny.
Like,
I might be able to watch a little bit of that game tonight, then.
You know what's going to happen? Erin Frankel's going to let in like 4 goals.
I won't watch it.
Things and things left and right here.
You're like, Mom, stay on your side. Everything's going good right now.
But yeah, I don't really, I can't really sing Erin Frankel's praises enough. She is currently the best goalie on earth right now, and she single-handedly might sweep Montreal, the second best women's team in the world right now. Crazy.
Nice.
And that game is
so we definitely do share like the game times. That's tonight at 4.
Yeah, we started recording this at 3:00. The game is at 4. So at the current time is this game starts in 6 minutes. So I'm gonna go.
He's like, I'm ready.
Montreal in 7 overtimes.
Wow. What?
The fact that they went 3 overtimes is crazy, too. So
an entire game of hockey combined, because the first game also went to overtime. The second game went to
Oh yeah, that's right. So that was a lot comparable. So yeah, like if you're tuning into us and you haven't checked out the PWHL, Matt's been following it better. We have to coordinate and figure this out because the games are honestly the same time as everything else. Like you have to make things a little easier if we want to be able to kind of, be able to kind of report on it better. But thankfully, Matt, you're focusing in on that, and we thank you for that and giving the update on that side for us. So we're going to try to tune in. But hey, if you're listening to us and you're frustrated with watching the NHL, flip it over. There's still another game on the other side, that's probably more entertaining and a little bit different than what you're used to. So give it a chance. These are still on YouTube, right? The games are on YouTube.
There have been just as many PWHL suspensions as there have been NHL suspensions.
See? Now we'll do a nice little comparison at the end of the season. Yeah. It'll be fun. That'll be a great episode to do. But yeah, the games are available for free for everyone to watch on YouTube channel. The PWHL has their own channel. So it's easy to find, easy to gain access to. So you should be able to watch the game. So, and if you're listening to this later and it's tomorrow or, the day after the game, they're still playing. So you can turn it on to any. We do post out the game times and game days for the PWHL games on Double D-Fense Instagram site. So keep an eye on that. Follow them for sure. That's always fun. I always love Montreal's posts because they're all in French. And so the super cute. And what I do still like about the PWHL is they just seem very, even though they're playing against each other, they're very complimentary of each other. So in watching those flows and feeds, it's been kind of nice to see. So we'll try to check out some of the games too, since now we have a day off, an extra day off of waiting for this team to get their act together. That might be a hint for the beer on Thursday. And so, so we're gonna.
I have a cider that I bought at my local 7-Eleven for $1.50 that I'm cracking open.
Nice. Cheap cider. There
Nice.
You go.
So Apple Orchard's Angry Orchard's pretty good.
There you go. So yeah, so everybody just maybe do some meditation, some manifestations. Keep it good. Keep it positive. we as fans can only do so much, but send good vibes around and just sit back, relax, and enjoy whichever way, shape, or form the remainder of these playoffs take shape. So I'm my mind is like, we're gonna win. The problem is it's not telling me when. So it'll be just enough so that my hair will be a little shorter next time when we come out. I might have to dye a little darker, maybe a little lighter. Well, I don't know. We'll see. We'll see what kind of stress we all go through. But also, fans know that we're all in this together, just like High School Musical.
We have each other.
So hopefully you'll see a post with us with happy faces. Yeah.
It's not like COVID or anything. It's not. All right.
Well, thanks everybody.
Have a great day, everybody. Go like, who you rooting for? Are you still rooting for Minnesota? Who's your PWHL pick right now for?
I'm rooting for everyone equally. There's someone entering the draft from our hometown that I'm waiting. That I'm waiting to see who I want to root for them. So
they have an amazing looking trophy too. So follow the PWHL. We're going to keep track of that as we're going. Rangers gotta get through this and become 1 of 4. So 8 will become 4 in a matter of days. So onward and upward, and always because it's a cup. So go Rangers.
Go Rangers.
Yay.
Bye everyone.
Bye guys.